Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast. Welcome back, Alastair. We thought we'd talk about aging today. Maybe that's why we can't remember the other topic, because we're getting old and our memory's not as good. We're trying to remember, there was another topic idea we came up with yesterday, and both of us can't for the life of us remember what it was.
It must have been really riveting.
Yeah, it must have been a really good topic because we can't remember it. Yeah, so what
brought about the thought of aging?
I don't know. Was it when we were just talking about it at kickboxing class the other night? Must be that.
Nothing to do with your recent birthday.
No.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. Well, we kind of talked a bit at the kickboxing class, because if you told me that in my 40s I would be learning kickboxing, I'd have been like, no. But also, I was having that thought of that. I don't worry about aging. You can't, why would you worry about aging? It's like, it's something that happens.
You say that, but you worry about plenty of things that are completly out of your control.
Well, we're not going to talk about those today.
Why is aging
we'll just
different?
Push that big pile of stuff to the side. But for some reason, aging, I'm kind of
more accepting of?
Yeah. Well, because, it's just one of those things. But, it's so funny because I perceived 40 as old, and now I'm here like, no, it's not old.
Doesn't seem that old.
It's not that old.
And I often have these things that I find interesting to think about, and it's something to do with how my brain works and things. But the thought of when I was in my 20s and thinking about 40 being young, and then being about to be 40, and I don't know, just the concept of those two different times, because I don't feel much different.
Yeah, I think that's the funniest thing is, it's a very gradual thing. You're just like, each day you're a day older. And, you hit the bigger numbers when you're like 20 or 30 or 40. And it's just like, oh, I'm here now, but I don't feel different. It's like,
you don't feel different.
There's a number related to it, but in reality, it's not any different.
I thought in my 20s that it would be different to be 40. But I don't think it is different. Maybe a little bit stiffer getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, we were talking about, physically, and physically we keep quite fit. And especially now, I find that the kickboxing is keeping me much fitter. And that's not just physically, that's mentally too, my capacity to keep learning, to control my body. And then there's the sort of cardio fitness and all that sort of thing. And I think that it's interesting that what we get put in our face, a lot of this sort of anti-aging, hide the grey, get rid of the wrinkles. And yeah, I feel like it's really important to look after our bodies, because, they are our bodies and they're going to carry us around until we're not here. So it's important to look after them, but trying to hide signs. Like, it's all right to nourish yourself as you get older. You're not producing what you need, or you're not, you're not, oh goodness, I can't think of the word. You're not getting the same things that you did before out of food, so you need to maybe supplement or whatever, is good. But I don't think that hiding it is, unnecessary.
So we talk a lot about self-acceptance.
Yeah.
But I distinctly remember and it wasn't a long period of time, but the period of time of my first few grey hairs, and being like, oh, that surprised me. I wasn't expecting, I never thought about it, and it surprised me, and part of me wanted to resist it. Like, I didn't want to have grey hairs, and for the briefest moment in my life, I thought about other people's perceptions of me and how it looked to have grey hair, and that, all that sort of thing came up in my mind. Very quickly I got back to that, well, I don't care. But, I definitely remember going through that barrier of resistance to the thought of aging. And now my view on it is just, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And you see, if you look around on the internet, you see plenty of people in their 50s and 60s that are exceptionally fit and active, and it doesn't need to be the decline that everyone kind of thinks it is.
I think that's it. And I think it's like, yeah, like, because we were talking about the kickboxing, like you hurt yourself or you get ill or something, it tends to just take a little bit longer to bounce back. You just don't quite bounce, or you have a hard day, you just don't seem to bounce back quite as quick as you did when you were younger. But like accepting that that's the way it is and giving yourself the time and the nourishment and what you need to help you bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the kickboxing, there are two sides to it I like, because we're the oldest people there.
Yeah, sometimes.
Mostly.
Because, there's
a couple of other
people that are older.
But almost everyone, I think, is younger than us.
Yeah.
So when we're sparring, quite often you're fighting someone who's nearly half your age. But the nice thing that I find in it is that I can go longer. I have more stamina. I have more, that sort of
more
level
fitness.
of fitness than people have. So that is a real nice thing to feel.
Yeah.
Now, the getting to the end of it or getting up the next morning.
Or we sit down, because we do a double class now. We do 2 hours, but we have 15 minutes between the class. Like, if I sit down on the floor, which I've learned I don't do now, we sit down on the mats and we chat. I stand up and keep moving a bit, because I do start to seize up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a bit of seizing, and especially the next day.
Yeah.
But the ability to perform, as it were, is still there and strong and easy to access. So, fitness side of things about growing older, so far, I don't see a massive decline in things.
No, and I think, like I said, it's important to look after your body and keep it fit and things.
Yep, definitely.
And it's not always easy to do, especially if you have like previous injuries and things like that. Can change it. But I think a lot of it is that your mental acceptance of, we are aging, and I think as well, birthdays for some people can feel like they don't like their birthdays because they're getting older, they're focusing on the age, or even like that feeling of, I'm this age and I haven't accomplished what I want to accomplish yet.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of using that as a motivation to really push forwards with what you want to accomplish, it can be a sort of bit where you just are really hard on yourself. And I hate my birthday. I don't want to know because I haven't done what I wanted to do,
I think with that, there's a real risk to be comparing yourself to others.
Yeah.
And looking at people, especially the older you get, because you end up looking at more young people. You look at young people and it's like, oh, they've already done that and I've not done that yet.
Yeah.
And there's that sort of like, oh, how did they get to it faster than I? But, there's plenty that you've done that they haven't done.
Yeah.
And
we're each on our own journey. And and it was really sweet because actually the night before my birthday this year's felt harder.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I'm still kind of grieving.
Mm-hmm.
I found it hard to honour myself because I'm unhappy with how I'm feeling at the moment, which it's silly to feel unhappy that I'm grieving, but it's just like, it's a hard process.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I kept saying, can we just cancel it? Can we just not do it? And it's not like, it's just like celebrating me felt like a hard thing to do. And I think, the birthday is your chance to celebrate yourself. Really just take that moment. And even if it is just taking a moment to celebrate who you are, where you're at, and what you're doing in your life,
That's a real interesting thing, because I think about my birthdays and I never think of my birthdays in that way.
No.
But it's quite a nice way to think of your birthday.
Well, that was it. Well, it was just how things fall into place. And one of my friends who's in Bali, so she was like halfway through my birthday day when she messaged me, but it was actually the night before my birthday, and it was like, it's your day to create your next future. It's like your new year is your birthday rather than the new year, because it's your personal new year.
Yeah.
And that just opened up a whole new level of, this is beginning of my new year, not January. It's when I changed my age from
I
one
kinda
year
like
to
that.
the, and I was just like, oh, because then you create your whole personal new year, and that just like that flipped my mental state on where I was with the birthday, and even with aging, it's like that allowed me to just be like, no, let's celebrate this new year. And it's not like new year, new me. It's just like new year. Let's celebrate, like let go of what has gone. It's like you know, you're doing your whole new year again. You're let go of what's gone past and create your new future.
Yes.
You know, that sort of idea. And just, it's like almost like a reset. You know, it's just like, it gives you that moment
nice
to just
reset.
Right, okay, let go of last year. I'm resetting to this year. And really, that opened up sort of more inspiration and thoughts to me. And yeah, I've had some new ideas come up that I want to play with, and just like simple things that I want to do to create a more positive future just within my own mindset and myself, you know.
Yeah, it's nice. I'd not thought of birthdays like that before.
No.
And it's an interesting way to think of them.
Well, that's it. I've always thought of them like it's a day to celebrate you, and I always say to people, you know, take this day, celebrate you. You're an amazing person type thing. But that message that I got from my friend was just so, it just really changed my perception on the birthday in a really positive light. And I was just like, yeah, we each get our own day in the year where we get to reset and begin our new year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. It's a nice way to look at them.
Yeah. And then when you look at that, then, you know, you should be celebrating each birthday's just your new year, and you get to create your new future, and instead of it being something that's, you know, oh, I'm another year older, you know.
One step closer to the grave.
Yeah. And, you know, that's just not a good way to look at things. And I think as well, like I spoke about as well, it's like the idea of aging is always kind of thrown at us, anti-aging this, anti-aging that.
It's something
that
should be resisted and avoided, and you shouldn't do it. And
you've got your just for men to hide your grey hair, and, you know, women dyeing their hair to hide the grey hair, because we feel like it's almost like a, you know, it's
almost like a failing.
Yeah. It's like, it's really weird. And really, you know, I think white grey hair just makes me feel like someone's wiser, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
They've moved, you know, yeah.
It is an odd thing and I wonder in history when it became a thing to try and hide.
Well, I think a lot of it comes because you've got the old crone, haven't you? There's that old, like in the woman sense of it, it's that old crone. The men, it was quite often, you know, the wizards had the grey, you know. I'm going into some sort of mystical way of looking at it, but I think a lot of our previous pasts are told in stories and fairy tales and in fantasy worlds and things like that, or that are sort of really linked to reality, but we've started to make them into something else. And
well, that's the whole story thing, isn't it? It's the way to.
But yeah, I think, you know, the old hag, the old crone in her house, isolated in the woods, that's, you know, stay away from her.
That's it, versus the young maiden. And,
and it's just like, I think some of it's that, you know, and actually I feel like, I think we should embrace the getting old, because hopefully we're getting wiser.
I'm not sure about that one.
We've had more experience in life.
Definitely had more experiences. I don't know if I'm getting wiser, though.
I think there's wisdom with it, you know. And like grey hair as well, to really zero in on grey hair, like traumas and things like that can cause your, like, I feel like I've got quite a lot of grey hair since I've lost Bria, and it's just like, it's just my body physically showing me what I've been going through.
Definitely.
You know? And it's just,
it's one of those things, because grey hair, wrinkles, that sort of thing of aging, there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, you can try.
Well, you can buy all your anti-aging stuff and dye your hair. You can hide it. Yeah. But I think sometimes in your hiding, it can make you look older. Yes. Because, like, the resistance of what is happening in your body and trying to hide it. Just I feel like it just messes with the energy. It's almost like you're putting like a false face on who you really are.
Yeah, there is a definite falseness.
I mean, it's good to I can't emphasize enough. It's good to care for your skin. You know, your skin is aging, and you know it's okay to care for it. But if you're trying to conceal what's happening, I think you're just you know.
No, I think you're right with that, and I don't know. I've always felt it's just a lot of energy to put into something that doesn't really matter.
I mean, I'm lucky because I feel like what I look like isn't greatly important to what I'm doing or who I am, or, you know, but some people feel like it's important what they look like to help them do what they're doing or be what they're being. And I get that. And that's your sense of security in who you are is, but then because that idea that you're changing, like you feel less secure because things are changing and you don't look like how you looked before, and then how can then you continue to do or be what you know, it's like holding on to that previous version of yourself.
It's an odd one, the trying to resist the aging and trying to hide it, and because that's the thing as well, you know, if you can exterior hide so that people can't see you're aging, well, you're still aging. It's just that you're hiding it. It's like, it doesn't actually make a difference to you.
I mean, it's really interesting because both of us don't have that issue with the aging, and it'd be interesting to speak to someone and understand.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I definitely, like I say, I went through a barrier of I'm getting older.
Well, it's like, you know, for quite a while, I was like, I'll probably use natural dyes and keep my grey hairs hidden. And then, aside from the fact that any kind of dyes, you know, is just not good for you, I was just like, no, I'm going to embrace it. I'm just going to embrace the changes. But it took time to get to that point.
Yeah,
you know,
it definitely takes
I look at my face in the mirror and I'm like, oh, that's what I look like. But, you know, sometimes it's just because I've got puffy eyes because I've been crying or something. But also, like, I haven't hydrated. I haven't nourished myself. Like, I look older when I haven't looked after myself. So when I haven't felt happy, when I haven't been nourishing myself, when I haven't drunk enough water, when I'm not, like, fulfilling my soul and feeling my best, I look 20 years older, you know, so it's just like...
Definitely, when you're in your 20s, you can get away with that
you can
stuff.
get away with all that stuff, and it doesn't really show so much, but Yeah,
but now you just have to think about it
and I think it's good because your body's showing you when you're not nourishing yourself. You know, when you really feel like you need to conceal or you don't look good to yourself, it's probably because you haven't been looking after yourself. And not just physically, because that can come mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You know, there's a lot that will show physically when there's something going on, you know?
That's it. I'm kind of thinking about another thing that we had a discussion, actually I think it was a kickboxing, but about aging. And it was the kind of getting to that stage where you just don't care. You know, and it's that stereotypical, I don't know why I go with women, but women in her 40s who, you know, crazy clothes and just doesn't care.
Well, and I think, like, now I'm starting to go through that phase. Like, I've seen, like, I'm thinking of my aunties and, you know, and what they wore, and I was like, oh my God, I'd never wear that. Now I'm like, I'm walking around, I'm wearing those clothes. And it's just like, you don't care. You want to feel comfortable and you want to just feel free, and you don't really care what people think about what you're
that's
wearing.
the real freeing
really
thing about it. You know, like when you're in your 20s, you think about what you're wearing and how you look, and you have to look good, and you have to look this, and whatever style you're going for. But you do get to a stage later in life where it's like, well, whatever. Yeah. This is comfy. Yeah. I don't really care.
As long as I'm comfortable, if I'm making other people feel uncomfortable with what I'm wearing, well, that's their problem, because I just want it to be comfy, you know?
But it's like that comes into that self-acceptance thing, which is so important. Yeah. And like, it's so freeing to be in that position where,
And I never thought I'd get to that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that it just comes, you know.
It just comes, but you didn't really realise.
It'd come. No,
It'd come.
I think I'd spent about a year before I went, ah!
Oh, I don't care what people think.
I'm just wearing I've got these really light cotton trousers, pants, whatever you call them, and they are just so comfortable. And they're all patterned with colours, and they're really vibrant, but it's like really hippie-ish almost, you would call it. But they're just like, I'd never have gone out in public in those. Whereas now I'm just, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, they're I take off my, you know, public clothes and then put on my comfies. But now I'm like, I'm happy to go out in my comfy,
yeah,
colourful trousers, you know. It's just like, no, I don't know, yeah. It just doesn't seem to matter anymore.
It's, here's the other thing with aging. Do you look back and think, oh, I'd like to be that age again?
No, God, no. That's the funniest thing. Just no. I don't want to live through any of that. You know? Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be younger again.
I mean, at times I think it would be really nice to be back there and know what I know now.
Yeah, but you can't. Like, that's never gonna happen.
So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, to be back there, I don't see a difference, but I don't see a difference. You know, we talk about fitness and things like that, and, well, okay, I'm sure I do look a lot older. But, you know, I don't think about that side of things. So I don't see any benefit to being younger again, other than if I went back with the knowledge that I have now, then I'd maybe do some things,
yeah.
you know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's the knowledge and the wisdom. So therefore, your aging body isn't what's important.
Yeah.
It's like you'd like to give yourself advice.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's those things like, oh, if I knew that then.
But then this is the whole point, is your journey is about learning that advice that you would have given yourself.
Completely, yeah.
You know, the only way you can do it is by experiencing the journey and learning and taking on the wisdom that you learn. And like I said, I think when we're older, we are a bit wiser.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we always make good choices,
oh, God,
but we're wiser.
I mean, that's the old joke, isn't it? That you always think that your parents actually knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then you get to being that age and you're like, oh, you guys had no idea.
I mean, I still do the thing, like, something happens and I'm looking for the responsible adult to take care of it. Yeah. And then I realise, no, that's me. That's me.
Definitely.
And yeah, it is. Your perception is that everyone seems to know what they're doing, but really, in reality, no one knows what we're doing. We're
all just kind of
muddling our way through life.
Definitely.
And learning as we go. And I think the important thing is just take on the learnings and let go of anything that isn't serving us. And yeah.
Okay, so when you were 20, 40 seemed like it was old.
Yeah.
Now that you're 40...
70. I'm
70. That's the next line.
But that's the age of my parents. But then, you know, I see what they're doing still, and my mum's still riding her horses and like mucking out her horses and moving big bales of haylage about and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Gardening, she's still in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it sneaks up on you quite as fast as.
So 70, though, is the next. That's an old person.
Well, I think 70, I'm going to be like, holy, how did I get here? You know?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I still think that 50 sounds old.
Yeah. You haven't reached 40 yet.
Well, that's the end of this year. So.
Yeah, end of this year you'll reach 40. Well, I'm into my 40s now, so you're suddenly like, 50's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
You're just telling yourself
it's
that.
Fine, it's fine, it's fine. Fine. Everything's fine.
I think it's because... You know, when I think about, and it's kind of that thing, you know, when you move away from your hometown, and then you go back for a day, and you see someone who was younger than you at school,
driving and doing a job and with kids,
grown up, and you're like, no, you're not grown up, you're still like 10.
No, my assumption is the island that I grew up on, that all the kids are still kids. Time has stopped.
There you go. So I think I have that same thing with everything. I don't think about the aging so much. So then I think about my parents and I think about them being in their 50s.
Yeah.
I don't think about, I actually don't know what age. My dad must be in his 70s. Anyway, Yeah, he must be 71, I think, something like that now. Anyway.
Don't give away his age.
But I don't think about them being that age.
Yeah.
I think of them
They're still in their 50s.
In their 50s.
Yeah. And then you're nearly in your 50s.
And then I'm nearly in my
Yeah.
50s. It's just like, that doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
I'm sure for them and for anyone with kids, when you get to the stage that your kids are 40.
Yeah, I think my birthday card seemed I can't believe you're 41. And I
Yeah.
think it was just like the idea that
That means we
their
must be old.
child is 41. Yeah, that's it. Like, that must be
Yeah,
terrifying.
my child's old now, so that means I must be really old.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's weird. But it's also like, it was in that podcast we were listening to yesterday where the guy was like, I had that inner adult who, like, I always was like trying to be grown up when I was young. And I was like, yeah, I think like I always wanted to be older so that I was respected and seen as older. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about that anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, people are just like, you're older. How come you're behaving like young? So I've like flipped it around, and I like don't behave like the mature person. I'm just like whatever.
You're that embarrassing auntie.
Yeah, totally. It's a good job that my nephews live the other side of the world now.
So they don't get to see
Yeah,
you.
I could be the really embarrassing auntie for
Yeah.
them. Yeah, this time will come. Anyway, I think that's a good chat about aging.
Yep, I think it is. It's something that happens, and I think it's part of accepting who you are, accepting that you age,
Yeah.
and really
And embracing it. I think, like I said, and I think that like one of the things that I'd really like people to think about is their birthdays and it being
I really
a
like
reset.
that. I really like that reset, that new year for you.
Yeah. It's like, and it's just your own personal year, and that just feels so special. I think that's, and then that way you honor yourself on your birthday, and regardless of whether you celebrate in a big way or not at all, like taking 5 minutes to honor yourself, whatever, and just be with
And
yourself.
I think for me, aging, it's like, it's just a number.
Yeah.
And that comes from my I can do anything thought. Is that it doesn't matter if I'm 40 and I want to go and do this thing, because I can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't change as you get older.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far.
Well, good topic.
Yep.
Thanks for joining me.